Greetings and salutations.
This is Jordan Bloom.
And Patton Oswalt.
And we are the writers of Minor Threats over at Dark Horse Comics.
And you are listening to the Oblivion Bar Podcast.
Welcome to the Oblivion Bar Podcast with your host, Chris Hacker and Aaron Knowles.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 151 of the Oblivion Bar Podcast, the official podcast of the Fantasy Shop in St. Charles, Missouri. I'm your friendly neighborhood Titan veterinarian, Chris Hacker, and joining me this week is the man who isn't afraid to admit that bustin' makes him feel good, my co-host and BFF, Aaron Knowles.
Bustin' makes me feel good. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Aaron, this week on the show, we are doing you called it like the Empire Strike Back, right?
Yeah.
The double feature.
I've been saying this for weeks, and I thought it was one of the most wittiest things I've ever come up with.
I think it is too. It's just, if I was to make the title of this episode any longer, people would not know what we're talking about. So I think that the subtitle of this episode is movie reviews / double feature, semicolon, the Empire Strike Back, Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
That's a long fucking title.
That's a long title.
Okay, side quest.
Okay.
When you were younger, did they ever make you take like typing classes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got like, how fast you can go?
Yeah, like words per minute, all that stuff. So we had this one, it was like Mavis Beacon or Mavis Beacon, however you say it. And it was like a haunted house, okay? So it was like a complete ripoff of Casper.
Sure.
But you go in and you'd have to like type out the words, and like there was like haunted words, like ooh, and then you type them out. But there was this little ghost that would like give you the cues of what to type. And for some reason, core memory locked in there is this ghost would say semicolon. Like core memory is this ghost semicolon. And
do you know when to use a semicolon though?
I do.
Yeah, I still don't know to this day when to use a semicolon.
So to use a semicolon, just nerd.
Everyone, we're going to talk about Godzilla and Kong and
we'll
Ghostbusters eventually, but we need to learn about semicolons really quick.
Okay, semicolon is basically, think of like an additional clause to a sentence. You remember the movie Santa Claus?
Yes.
Like, hey, whoever puts on the suit becomes Santa Claus. And then there's like an additional, like there's like additionals, annexes, and basically anything that adds to that sentence. Like, I am very hungry, semicolon. I could eat, for tacos, or like, for tacos for that. Like, that's not exactly 100% right.
I could eat a Tiamat.
Yes, there you go.
And
it's like,
I am Godzilla and I'm very hungry, semicolon. I should eat myself a Tiamat.
Like with a comma, kind of the information is needed to conclude that sentence, but with a semicolon,
it's like context.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So when do you use the dash? Everyone, sorry, but so I use a dash a lot. If like I have a sentence that I'm trying to complete, but I want to add a little I want to finish that thought in a separate sentence, I use a dash. Am I using that correctly?
That's
not correct.
That's not
all right.
Correct.
Well, you don't come to the Oblivion Bar for grammatical correction, although we did just give you the correct way to use semicolon. So
today's show was brought to you by the semicolon.
What was the little diploma from Schoolhouse Rocks? What was his name? Do you remember?
I have I'd never watched Schoolhouse Rock.
Okay.
Ever. Right. Ever. I feel like I missed out because everybody's like super obsessed with like, I'm just a bill.
I'm just a bill.
And like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, everyone, no worries. You're not going to be learning about political ramifications as a preteen or even semicolon talk anymore. That's all over with. This week on the show, we're going to finally be talking about Godzilla Kong. Now, Aaron, it says Godzilla X Kong.
X Kong. Yeah.
The X, we'll talk about this here in just a bit during the review, but that is not X. It's not multiplied. It is
collab.
It's a collab.
It's a collab.
The new
for all
Empire.
You TikTokers.
Yeah, it's for the TikTok. It's for the
Godzilla collabs King Kong.
This ain't your daddy's Godzilla Kong. This is for the youth of the nation.
Big monkey fights big lizard.
That's right. And then we also have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. So Aaron, this is a very Aaron-centric episode.
This is all me, baby.
This is all you. So
this is all me, baby.
I'm going to be looking to you to lead the pack and be our subject matter expert on all things monkeys, lizards, and busting on ghosts. So,
got it. I'll bust all over these monkeys and lizards.
Aaron, tell the people how they can support the Oblivion Bar podcast.
What? You don't know? Patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod. For your support, you could have access to our weekly exclusive Grid podcast, which is called The Grid. I don't know why I keep saying The Grid, but I'll throw it in there a couple more times. It's a weekly Patreon exclusive benefit. It's basically the Oblivion Bar Pod after dark. It's unformatted, it's unfiltered, it's unfettered, it's
Total stream of consciousness. Just whatever's on the top of our brain.
Us. Yes. Yeah. It's just random. Well, I love it.
It's an inside look on our friendship because all we do is press record and start talking. Whatever we
no idea.
We start, because if you know anything about Aaron and I, if you listen to the show long enough, you know that we can ramble. We can talk about all types of things.
We can side quest and segue with the best of them.
That's where we get all of our side quests and segues out of the way, is over on the grid.
Because we don't have the wrinkly brains like some of you folks. We got smooth brains.
Smooth ass brains over here on the Oblivion Bar.
Brains. You also get access to episode transcripts before the show releases, so you can kind of see what we're going to be talking about. And that includes everything, all of our notes, all of our links. It's really it's something that Chris puts a lot of time into. It's amazing, and it's something that we really it sets us apart here on the Oblivion Bar Pod. Early access to normal episodes, and a special shout out at the end of each Oblivion Bar Pod episode. So you'll hear that later on from me. It's honestly the best way to support the show. Everything that you guys put into the show comes back into the show. We don't take any of it. We just use it purely to make the show better.
Yeah. Patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod. Aaron, one more note before we get into our news and notes. Well, a note before the news and notes. We have a panel at C2E2 with the First Issue Club and the Short Box, Aaron. We got another panel. So exciting.
Panel.
Was that a DJ horn that you were about to do? You want to do it?
No, it's just me going, panel.
Panel. Do a
panel.
DJ horn for me. There it is. Yeah. On Friday, April 26th at 11:15 a.m., join us in room S405/B to hear a live recording of our 3 shows getting together, talking about comics, talking about podcasting. It's, again, Botter over at the Short Box. You've got Greg Lichtag and Andy Vargas over at the First Issue Club. Plus us 2 hooligans. We're all going to get together. We're going to talk about all things comics, movies, podcasting, all the things. It's
hooligans because we're hoes.
Aaron and I, we actually have an exclusive C2E2 image that we're going to put on stickers and shirts and posters. It was made by our good friend and patron, Elliot Dixon. So shout out to Elliot for that. It's an incredible homage to Wolverine #8, where you've got the Joe Fixit version of Aaron, and then you have the Wolverine/Patch version of me, looking up at each other, all menacing like. So very cool. We'll be giving those out for free. Though we'll actually be having a panel exclusive sticker. It's a holographic version. So make sure you guys come. If you're in the C2E2 area or Chicago area, come hang out with us for a bit. It'll be a lot of fun. Your support means a ton.
It's going to be a blast.
That's right. And you can also visit the link in our show notes for more details on that panel. So enough of all that. Aaron, let's go ahead and get into our news and notes.
News and notes.
Our news and notes segment is sponsored by Omnibus. Backed by some of the top publishers in the medium, Omnibus hosts an extensive back catalog from Image Comics, Boom Studios, Dark Horse, IDW Publishing, Ahoy Comics, Titan Vault, and many more. And they're about to just release some big news coming up, folks. We can't speak on it, but it's going to be huge. Huge. And most importantly, Omnibus supports in-app purchases. Download the Omnibus app in the App Store or read at work on your desktop, like me. Android users, your time is coming. The beta for the Play Store is almost finished. Also, make sure you follow them on their socials at the Omnibus app. Omnibus, by fans, for fans.
Alrighty, up first we have Marvel cast Julia Garner in the Fantastic Four as, Aaron, drumroll please, the Silver Surfer, my favorite character of all time. So obviously this is a big news for me, whether I am for it or against it. I guess we'll find out here in just a moment, but let's give a little background on Julia Garner. Aaron, are you familiar with the show Ozark over on Netflix?
Is she the one that she looks like she has a perm?
This is crazy. I don't know shit about fuck.
Yep, that's her. That's her famous thing on Ozark. Yeah. She doesn't know shit about fuck.
Okay.
She was also in Inventing Anna. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. She was really good in that one.
Incredible actor. It's exciting surface level, but let's get through the fine details before we give our opinions on it. So she's obviously taking on the role of Shia LaBeouf, who is normally the love interest of the normal incarnation of the Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd. Shala Ball was created by Stan Lee and John Buscema in Silver Surfer #1 in May of 1968. Ball is the empress of the planet Zen-La, a civilization of peace and enlightenment. Gardner joins Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Iban Mas Bachrach as Ben Grimm. Fantastic Four will hit theaters on July 25th, 2025. Aaron, before I give my thoughts on this, I'd love to get kind of your temperature check. What is your thoughts on Julia joining not only this cast, but the MCU as
The Herald of
Galactus? Yeah.
So, I mean, I have more of a question for you, to be honest. Like,
Sure.
Okay, so obviously Norrin Rad has been a male, has been represented. The Herald of Galactus has been the Silver Surfer. How do you feel about Shala Ball? Because is this like just a different like Earth or a different multiverse?
There's a series called Earth X by Alex Ross that I think she becomes a version of the Silver Surfer. But my understanding of Shala Ball has always been, when Galactus comes to Zen-La, basically Norrin makes a pact with Galactus, says, hey, listen, if you to save Shala Ball and his entire planet, I will become your herald. I will seek out planets for you to consume, to keep this galactic balance within, the universe and everything, right? Eventually, obviously, Norrin bands with the Fantastic Four, fights off Galactus when he comes to Earth, because he sees the right in humanity. All that to be said, Shala Ball, her character arc, from my understanding, reading through like the Ron Lim stuff and a lot of the 90s stuff, of course, the Stan Lee stuff and the Jack Kirby stuff. My understanding of Shala Ball is essentially she is like this anchor for Norrin when he comes back to Zen-La. On the rare times that he does, he always comes back and he's always thinking, oh, I've done all this amazing stuff throughout the universe. I've sacrificed so much to come back to Zen-La. And a lot of times what he realizes is that Shala Ball has like moved on. She's like, I'm good, man. I've become the empress of this planet that you love. I don't really need you anymore. Like that's essentially, that's what she's saying without saying it. What she's essentially telling Norrin anytime she interacts with him in like modern day is that like, we had this love, but we've gone in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Our priorities are much different now. And she's a very independent person. I think this is a very interesting casting, I'll say. Here's my lizard brain response. I was like, damn it, that sucks. Like I really wanted Norrin Rad. Like obviously, like I have Norrin Rad on my arm right now. That I love that character. I love his arc. I love what he does. And I think if we're just going to supplant Shala Ball into that role, and Norrin Rad is kind of like maybe the emperor of Zen-La, I like if they're just going to literally gender swap it and make it Shala Ball, I don't really see why. That's my thing, is that like anything can be good. I think that Julia Garner is incredible. She's an incredible actor. This could be very good. I just don't understand why they did it. And maybe we'll see down the road.
It's an odd choice. And that's why, like, for me, I accept it. I'm not super happy with it, but it's not like world shattering for me. I'm more excited to see the implications of what does this do to the actual story, to the universe, whatever, because obviously there's going to be some universe defining moments when it comes to why Shala Ball is the Herald versus why Norrin Rad. Because I grew up with Norrin Rad, but for me, it's not such a staple that I can't get over it. I'm more curious about when the time comes and this movie releases to see what you say.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So I'm interested in that. But I am excited for this film. I am excited for the more they do advertisements, the more they do, like they release like these, because was it yesterday they released all these cool like new posters and everything, and it looked
the Johnny
like
Storm one.
I love the retro look, so I'm super excited because I don't know, that's just all exciting. But again, and then Pedro Pascal, daddy.
We got Zaddy in this. We got Vanessa Kirby. The cast is incredible. I think I hope everyone doesn't hear what I'm not saying when I say that. Like, while I was like initially disappointed that it wasn't Norrin Rad, again, anything can be good. And I believe in Julia Garner as an actor. I think she's going to be incredible in the role regardless. I just hope that this wasn't a change to be a change. Like, I hope that there's a reason for it, and they didn't just want to make a female Silver Surfer, because that feels also very disingenuous. Like, of course, gender swapping, race swapping, all these things, if it makes sense for the story, let's do it. It's awesome. But I hope this wasn't just a switch it up, because Silver Surfer is not like a white, I mean, he is a white dude. He's a white male, but like he's from Zen-La. He's this bald, like really weird looking species. He's not like a normal cis Midwestern white male like me. He's just like, I don't know. Anyway, my point is that like, I am still very excited for Fantastic Four. I'm excited that my favorite character is in the MCU finally, in some capacity. I just hope that this is I hope they're honoring the character in the correct way, is my only reservation. And it's a very small reservation, I should say. Like, I'm still very excited. So, Aaron, we need to take a little bit of time. Something incredibly tragic happened this past week. This is really our only other piece of news. We just want to cover it very quickly that comic creator Ed Piskor tragically passed away. He broke through. I'm going to give you a little backstory on Ed Piskor because there's some
controversy.
Well, there's some webs to weave, I'll say, that like we have some things to kind of go over before we talk about what actually happened. Piskor broke into comics in his 2016 project Hip Hop Family Tree, which documented the early years of hip hop culture and portrayed iconic figures like DJ Kool, Herrick, Grandmaster Flash, and Public Enemy. In 2018, and Aaron, this is where I kind of got familiar with Ed Piskor. Piskor took a similar all-encompassing ensemble approach to Marvel superhero mythology with X-Men Grand Design, an attempt to synthesize the complicated history of mutants and its cohesive narrative. So if you know anything about the X-Men, their history, the comics are all over the place, time travel, different kids, like all the things. It's very convoluted. So Piskor's goal was to basically condense all that and make it digestible for new comic book readers. He and fellow Pittsburgh cartoonist Jim Rugg also hosted a long-running comic theme YouTube talk show, Cartoonist KFAB. Okay, so here's where it gets kind of rough. So on March 25th, a City Paper article alleged Piskor of sending text messages to a young fan whom he befriended from a Facebook comic group. She was underage and described the situation as grooming and inappropriate. Piskor then put this very long, drawn-out post on Facebook that basically, I mean, some are kind of seeing it as a suicide note. The cause of death was not disclosed, but it can be assumed that this was a self-induced situation based on a lengthy note, like I said, on Facebook. Piskor was 41 years old. So no situation is too big for this kind of thing to happen. We should not let the voice of public opinion ever let something like this happen. Maybe Piskor did some very inappropriate things, but it wasn't worth losing his life. I'll say that definitively, right? Like if he was doing some groomy crap, that's not a good deal, man. That's not good. But it is not worth a very talented and otherwise loved person in the comic community. Like he should not be gone because of that, is my thoughts. So what are your thoughts, Aaron?
We live in a society right now where it's difficult for that to be, for situations like this, founded or unfounded, to be dealt with, because we're very much in a day and age where you're guilty until proven innocent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so anybody these days, especially like, you know, with the Me Too movement and all this stuff, I understand, like, I absolutely side on I'm with the victims, but I do think that we need to have a fairness to the way that we look at this, to where we are allowing people with dignity respond and fix what they've done or the issues, because who knows? I mean, there's a lot, nothing is just black and white. I understand, like, if it's wrong, it's wrong. Let it be found as wrong. Let the right people dig into it, investigate, and be wrong. But we as a society need to stop destroying people from head to toe and top to bottom, from back to front, like their entire legacies. I've thought about like this before with other creators and things like that, and it's true. Like, no matter what, we need to let people deal with these things with dignity, and that way a life is not worth it. And also, if they're guilty of doing such atrocities where it's like grooming or sexual assault, things like that, they need to face the consequences instead of in some cases, death might be the easy way out for them, or it seems like it's the only way out for them. We need to not allow that to happen.
Yeah, he felt like his career was over, essentially, and that this was his only way out, and that's really unfortunate. He says in his note that people were reaching out to his elderly parents. There were these news outlets were trying to get a hold of him constantly. He was losing work, like all these things. And, you know, like you said, we always side with the victim, of course, but like there have been instances where people have falsely accused folks of things. Like that has happened, right? So like, this is just really sad. It's not worth losing a life, especially someone as talented and, again, beloved as Piskor was in the comic community. And again, like you said, there are opportunities to grow. There are opportunities to look at it and go, hey, I made a mistake. People make mistakes. And there are some things that are irredeemable. Absolutely. But I think personally, this is and call me controversial, but this is not worth complete destruction of your life, your livelihood. And yes, again, like, being alive. Like that,
Yeah.
none of that is worth it, in my opinion. So I think if nothing else, this is a good time for us as the comic community to like listen and learn from this situation, right? Like, this is not a good deal. There's no way to put it. As you can see, Aaron and I are fucking spinning our wheels trying to figure out how to talk about this. But like,
it's like you said before, it needed to be talked about. It needed to be, it's something that is important to the community, and you can't just avoid the hard stuff to talk about. So it's something to be commented on and discussed, but not overlooked,
and not be overly opinionated on.
Exactly.
Like, this is the time to learn. This is not a time to like be like, oh, he should throw him in the trash. Like, people on the fucking foul people on Twitter and otherwise saying that this is deserved in some way is disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if many cartoonists could be like truly happy no matter what, just because it's like, it's not, every page you have an opportunity to create the best comic page ever, and you fail every time, but you're doing all right. You're progressing, you're learning. There's a yin and yang to it. Like this is what makes Mom proud. This right here is the money, because that's gonna go on, that'll be in my obituary, dude. I got to become a New York Times best-selling author. It's ridiculous. There must have been an off week in publishing that week.
Let's move on. Let's get into our main topic, which again is covering Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Aaron. But before we get there, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Aaron, do you remember what it's like when we first started recording? If the world of podcasting was not hard enough to figure out, we also often experience issues with unreliable internet connections, dropped or lagging calls, or the limited recording times from the other online recording studios.
Absolutely, man. We often had to re-record or invest in backup recording alternatives to make sure our show was always top-notch. But that's a thing of the past, right?
That's absolutely right. Because here at the Oblivion Bar, a nerd culture podcast, we've officially switched over to Riverside.fm.
Riverside.fm is the easiest way to record podcasts and video interviews in studio quality from anywhere. Bad internet connections don't affect the recordings because the platform records audio and video locally on each participant's device. The audio is uncompressed and the video is up to 4K resolution.
Yeah, that's right. And they also just released a beta version of their new media board, which allows you to upload your own themes and transitions and include them in your recording on a separate track.
So check them out at riverside.fm and change the way you record your podcast. That's riverside.fm, and tell them the Oblivion Bar sent you.
Main topic.
Alrighty, let's get into our first review, Aaron, of our double feature, The Empires Strike Back, right? That's right. That's like our running title. And the first one up is going to be Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. So, Aaron, initial thoughts on this fifth installment in the Monsterverse?
I believe so.
I think it's fifth. I think we talk about it later on in the review. I think it is the fifth installment. We got Godzilla. We got Godzilla King of Monsters. We've got Kong Skull Island. We've got Godzilla versus Kong. And then this, right? That's 5.
Initial thoughts?
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm
I'm initially getting to them.
I'm answering the question. Initial thoughts were, because I have to think back because I saw it, a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly fun. Like one of those ones that you just, you're just like, yes, like while you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Same. I think for me, I texted you right after I saw this because I saw it at.
You called me.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did call you. Yeah. And I was like, this is awesome. This is like totally my thing. Like I loved every part of this because I think this is officially taking, like the Monsterverse has officially taken the place of the Fast and Furious franchise as just total brain candy, smooth brain entertainment.
Yes.
Whatever this is, like what they've completely dove into. Like go back to Godzilla. It's very grounded. It's dark. It's kind of like you barely see Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then you go to this, we've completely devoided into absurdity. Like, not
we don't even care about the humans anymore.
No, not at all. Like, we're destroying whole cities, landmarks, the Colosseum, the pyramids.
The pyramid.
Everything is getting destroyed at this point.
The Colosseum is basically a giant doggy bed now.
That's right. And I don't care. I love it. I love every part of it. Like, you get Godzilla sleeping, like you said, like in the Colosseum. I'm like, isn't that adorable?
Curled up like a little cat.
That's right.
Little bumbly cat.
It's funny you say that, because we'll get into why that is here in just a moment. But I really love this, Aaron. Like, I don't think I can really articulate how much I enjoyed myself. Is it stupid? 100%. It's very dumb, everybody. This is not highbrow entertainment. Okay. But if you're looking for a fun popcorn movie at the theater, I don't think you can get much better than this, to be honest. Like, this is exactly what you want.
This is Big Monk fights Big Liz and it fun.
Times Orange Monk.
We got Karate Monk.
Yeah.
Karate
Monk.
Karate Monk
Yeah.
versus Power Glove Monk.
Yep.
Okay.
Plus Ice Dragon.
Ice Dragon.
Mini Diddy Kong type of orangutan.
Yes. Diddy Kong, and we got Pink Godzilla. Pink Liz.
Pink Liz. That's right. Yeah.
Cotton Candy Lizard.
Cotton Candy Lizard. All right, let's go ahead and do a summary here. Why? I don't know, but let's do a summary for Godzilla Kong, the New Empire.
With the agreement that the king of the monsters, Godzilla, protects the surface world and the almighty King Kong defends Hollow Earth, the two titans must begrudgingly band together to face an ancient threat hidden deep within the planet's core.
Yep, and like we said just a moment ago, the New Empire is the 5th installment in the MonsterVerse franchise, if you don't include the Netflix animated series Skull Island and the live-action Apple TV Plus series Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Aaron, have you seen Skull Island?
I have not seen Skull Island, but I did want to talk about the connection between Legacy of Monsters and this movie.
Please, because I don't know. I have not seen Monarch. I know it has the two Wyatts. Or not Wyatt. What? The two Russells, excuse me. You've got Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell, right?
Russell, yes. Yeah. So the interesting thing about this, okay, is, and we're going to talk about it, but again, spoilers ahead, spoilers ahoy.
Oh yeah, we didn't give a spoiler alert. Good job.
We didn't give a spoiler alert. What you need to know right from the start of this movie, if you have not seen Legacy of Monsters, is that there are think of the Earth. We already know that there's layers. All right, think of it as an ogre parfait. Okay,
I want a parfait right now.
There are so many fucking layers to the Earth, and we see this in the New Empire because we now have a subterranean realm of Hollow Earth. So like now they're just making up more shit, which I kind of love at the same time, because in Legacy of Monsters, there's even like a almost purgatory-ish, like between the realms area. So now you have the surface, you have this like between the realms, then you have Hollow Earth, and now we have subterranean Earth. Or subterranean Hollow Earth. So it's like we're just gonna keep adding shit to the Earth. Like, who knows how thick it gets?
Yeah,
but it's gonna be there, and I think it's really interesting. And so
does Monarch cover all of that? Is that kind of the point of the show, is to like go to the different realms?
Yes and no. So in Legacy of Monsters, we find out that like so we find out that the monsters can. So humans cannot travel without the monsters through the portals, and I feel like that might be wrong. No, they did, because in Godzilla versus Kong, they followed Kong through the portal. But yeah, so it's much like the same rules of Pacific Rim, where they cannot get through the portal without like being close to in proximity of a monster.
You need like a Titan handshake, essentially.
Basically. Now in Legacy of Monsters, it has like a time dilation aspect to it. So like somebody may be like stuck in that between realm, and it's like being near a black hole. So time for them is very slow, but on Earth, like time passes like super, or like goes by normal.
Sure.
So
do Godzilla or Kong show up in Legacy of Monsters at any point? They do. Okay.
Yes. Cool. So yeah, quite a bit. So no Kong. Godzilla's in there quite a bit because he's kind of like, they're still trying to track him around on Earth. He also shows up in this nether realm. So Godzilla is just apparently the Titans are just it's easier for them to access any of the realms that they want to go. Like they know how to get to each realm,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the in-between one or the subterranean, whatever. So I find this really interesting, and we have this whole new vehicle of like transport through the earth, around the earth. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew you would like that. When you start talking about you were going to see that on Apple TV, I was like, you're going to be my subject matter expert, because as much as I love the Russells, I just haven't checked it out yet. I don't have Apple TV like most folks, so
It's a pretty good show, and as we've talked about before, Apple TV is doing a lot of really good stuff because Legacy of Monsters is like gorgeous. Like
Yep.
it is cinema level. So if you have not seen it, I highly recommend going and checking out Legacy of Monsters, because they do show a lot of the same maps. You can see where Monarch's involvement and their mapping of this kind of realm is playing a part in there. But obviously this new empire, it takes it to a whole new level.
yeah, it's obviously not necessary. Everyone listening right now, if for some reason you haven't
Not
seen
necessary.
Monarch, you don't necessarily have to watch the TV show. It's more of just like more back matter essentially. But speaking of the show, Eisner-winning comic book writer Matt Fraction, who Aaron, wrote the Hawkeye series with David Aja and then Sex Criminals with Chip Zdarsky. He was the co-showrunner of Monarch alongside Chris Black, who also wrote episodes of Xena, Princess Warrior, Desperate Housewives, and Severance over on, again, Apple TV+. Before releasing Takahashi, I'm gonna really need your help here, Aaron. Takahashi Yamazaki.
Yamazaki. Very close.
Yep. The writer and director of the acclaimed Godzilla -1. Everyone's Aaron and I. We give that our surprise hit of the year last year.
Yep.
For the last call. Did PR for this film by watching it early and promoting it on social media, stating, "I was able to watch it on the big screen early. It is super fun and gorgeous. Be sure to watch it on the big screen." And Aaron, as we talked about a moment ago in an interview with CBR, director Adam Wingard revealed that the X in the movie title is silent. Both stands for collaboration. It's a common practice for brands and businesses to collaborate with artists. Again, this is not your daddy's Godzilla X Kong. It is now just Godzilla Kong. So, Aaron, get into the budget here.
Well, believe it or not, it's pretty big. Much like Godzilla's penis.
So say that's what she said.
That's what she said. Budget was $135 million, but this is the cheapest MonsterVerse entry to date.
Yeah, 135. So that's really cheap. I mean, think about like a lot of the MCU films. For some reason, we keep continuing to use that as our benchmark. A lot of their films are $200 million. I think, wasn't it Dune was 150? So this is cheaper than Dune. And from my eyes, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Aaron. Looked pretty good. Like there are some shots that look kind of CGI, like very CGI heavy, but in terms of the monsters fighting and the way the monsters look, just like the emoting of the monsters and the destruction of the cities and all the things, for my eyes, it looked really good.
I mean, I'm not looking for like realistic human, like,
right. That definitely helps
because none of the humans were like CGI. I don't feel like at least not that I can look in this. There were a few interesting shots of the young like Iwi princess that were like but she's so small you can't really tell.
Sure.
But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the monsters here, and the monsters looked awesome.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It was, I mean, who gives a shit? Honestly, they looked great.
There's a certain level of just like glaze that you have to watch these movies with, right? Like you just have to understand that this is going to be extremely CGI heavy. I thought the opening scene, like there's some shots where it's like a close up on Kong and you don't like get a good look at his scale. Like you don't realize how big he is actually in Hollow Earth because everything is so huge. But I thought some of those shots looked kind of iffy, but I think once we got past that, and I think very specifically when Kong has his toothache and you've got Dan Stevens as Trapper, goes down and gives him like a carbon fiber tooth, like a canine sharp tooth. That looked
definitely
good.
my favorite fucking character, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about Dan Stevens here in just a moment. He is an incredible addition to this film. So the box office, as of April 4th, The New Empire has grossed $94.6 million domestically and in Canada, and $115.1 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $209.7 million. So this is already the 6th highest grossing movie worldwide in 2024, just from its opening weekend. So,
damn,
yeah, pretty incredible.
I'm a little mad though because I obviously we went like opening weekend, and my movie theater didn't have any of the cool shit, like any of the cups or the buckets, the merchandise, nothing.
I went to AMC and they had the Scar King cup. Like basically it's like a Hollow Earth looking cup, and then on top you have Scar King sitting on the straw. So that's kind of what that was. So debuting at $80 million in its opening weekend, The New Empire topped the box office in its first 2 weeks, becoming the second best opening weekend of the MonsterVerse. It is also the 5th best Easter weekend entry of all time. So
really,
this is like a kind of a crazy surprise hit, you know? I think something we're going to talk about, I want to just go ahead and bring it up now, Aaron, is that between the two movies that we're talking about this week with The New Empire and Frozen Empire, these are both legacy sequels that came out in 2021 originally with Afterlife and with Godzilla vs. Kong that during COVID were both pretty big hits, honestly. Like pretty, I wouldn't say like huge hits, but pretty moderate to like better than average. Yeah, like they brought people to the theater, right? So yeah, what's interesting about that is that they both kind of came around the same time. They're both doing extremely well in the box office right now. So shout out to Sony and Warner Brothers for figuring it out. I mean, I would say as two of the studios that are often shooting themselves in their own foot more times than not, it seems like they made a good decision with both these films.
I find it super interesting, the timing of the release.
Yeah, like a week within each other.
Well, no, I guess that, but also the fact that these are generally like summer hit films, and this is such an early release window for both of these films. I would be curious, like if I could ever get in a room with any of the individuals who are in charge of like the release date for these, like I would want to know why release them now versus like a summertime hit. Obviously, they probably have some bigger, movies coming out this summer, but this just seems like a crazy early time frame.
Yeah, and I think it might have something to do with the movies that are coming out in the summer. Obviously, you've got
more than likely
this summer is going to be extremely packed. You've got The Fall Guy. I'm going to just name off a couple here. You've got The Fall Guy. You've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You've got Tarot, which is those horror films, Aaron, always do well. Like the low budget horror films always kill it. You've got If, the movie with the John Krasinski film starring Ryan Reynolds. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, you have Deadpool, obviously Deadpool versus Wolverine, or Deadpool and Wolverine. Furiosa, the Garfield movie. The Crow is another one's coming out this summer. Inside Out 2. Like, our summer is going to be extremely jam-packed. Bike Riders with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy. Also, A Quiet Place Day 1 is coming out in the summer. Like, I'm just like, there's a ton of Twisters. Like, there's so many movies coming out this summer that, like, I think they just wanted to get ahead of it, right? Oh, and Alien Romulus is coming out in August. God, there's so many.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense. And like I said, I was just purely curious because these are big budget films, but I think that's obviously looking at it kind of like early big budget. Like these are like maybe our version of big budget is different than the current version of big budget. And we'll see what happens. So
135 is a chump change, we got to save room for the $200 million ones, right?
I mean, when minus one was it 50 million, 15 million,
something like that. Yeah.
50 million.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, man.
We'll talk about it during the next review of Frozen Empire, but Frozen Empire was actually initially supposed to come out in November of last year, but it got pushed because of the SAG-AFTRA strike. So that's why it's interesting. Like you said, very interesting that both these are coming out at the same exact time, but it works.
And they struck back.
That's right. the empires, they struck back
as they tend to,
as history has shown.
Yes. So we got director Adam Wingard who, as you know, directed Blair Witch in 2016, Death Note 2017, which, and then got Godzilla vs. Kong in 2021. Did you see the 2016 Blair Witch?
I have not. No, and I have not seen Death Note. You gave a raspberry indicating you did not like it.
Fuck. It was so if you could Americanize one of the best animes. Oh wait, we do that all the time.
Yes. That's something we do often.
Yeah, something we do often.
Yeah.
As you can tell, it was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, no.
And I don't remember the Blair Witch being very highly reviewed. Like, I don't think people loved it, to be honest. So it seems like, while I will say, and this is coming from someone who really enjoyed this film. Again, this is not thought-provoking cinema, right? This is like smooth brain. Monkey punches lizard. So it's and it's good. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to sound reductive, but like Adam Wingard, it seems like he's found his niche. Like
yes,
both with Godzilla vs. Kong, which I found to be extremely fun. Like I honestly think this is better. Godzilla Kong: The New Empire is better than Godzilla vs. Kong, but I really enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, I did too. And I think you're right. I think he's found his I think he's found where he belongs.
Yeah. Speaking of, so good friend of the show, David Boer, comic writer, who's been, he wrote Tiamat over in the MonsterVerse comics. He also is currently writing the Ghostbusters books. Funny that we bring him up right now. It could be Kismet, right? But he once told us on the show that the dumbest things have the biggest audiences. So like,
yeah,
even if it's a bad thing, like even if it's like lowbrow entertainment, people will find enjoyment from it. Like reality television is a good example of that. Like some people just need to turn their brain off sometimes.
Yeah, like Jackass.
Exactly.
I'm Johnny Knoxville, and this is Jackass.
I'm Godzilla, and welcome to Jackass.
Welcome to Big Monk punched me in the face.
All right, so okay, Aaron, remember this number for me. Just keep everyone listening right now. Remember this number. Runtime 1 hour and 55 minutes. Just keep that in mind. Let's move on.
I already know why.
You already know why? Okay, perfect. Don't say it yet. We'll get to it eventually.
Cliffhanger.
Cast. Aaron, let's go over the cast really quick. It's a small one.
Yep. Rebecca Hall as Dr. Eileen Andrews. Brian Tyree Henry as Bernie Hayes. Dan Stevens as Trapper. Kaylee Hoddle as Gia. Alex Ferns as Mikhail. Rachel House as Hampton.
Who cares? None of that matters. Doesn't matter. Only one worth noting truly is like kind of Brian Tyree Henry. I like him. He's a podcaster, so obviously we are contractually obligated for the the medium that we love, the one that we're currently talking on. We got to talk about Brian Tyree Henry, and then also Trapper, who is like the best part of this movie. He is hilarious.
Absolutely.
He's just charisma, just dripping off of him in every scene.
He is a Titan veterinarian. That is the coolest job ever.
Who also maybe kissed Rebecca Hall at some point. Like they
definitely
kind of talked about it a little bit briefly.
Definitely bumped uglies.
But let's talk about the true stars of this movie, Aaron. Why don't you go over the titans of this film?
I hope you had some epic sound effects to this because I'm
go.
so pumped. Okay, you got starring Titans in Godzilla collaboration. Got Godzilla, King of the Monsters. King Kong, or just Kong.
Do they call him King Kong once in any of these movies?
I think so.
I think they just call him Kong. Maybe
Just
that's
Kong.
a rights thing or something.
Yeah. You got Mothra, Titaness, Mosura, or Queen of the Monsters.
Did you know that she was Queen of the Monsters?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That literally, as I was doing research for this review, that's when I found that out. Thought that was really cool.
I find it to be one of the weirdest things because like there's this weird relationship between Godzilla and Mothra,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like it's not symbiotic. It's not
Consensual? Is it sexual?
It's not sexual.
Do they kiss?
It's just like maybe, but like,
Can they kiss?
It's just interesting. But like the other thing is, I saw several interesting advertisements by the studio and like some other like places where they were like, I felt like they were using like weird AI images because there was like King Kong being carried by Mothra, and then there was one where it was like it basically became King Kong merged with Mothra, and like Mothra, it was like King Kong with like butterfly arm wings. It was like the weirdest thing. Mothra Kong, yeah. King Kothra. But it was just like,
what if Godzilla, Kong, and Mothra mixed together? What would that be? God Kong Kong Ratha?
God Kong Ratha. There you go.
God Ratha. There it is.
It's just like an interesting, like, so the Godzilla Mothra relationship is just an interesting thing because she's always been there to kind of like assist and aid Godzilla, but like as like you ever like a summon. You ever play like RPG? And oh, like
she's a white mage.
Yeah, I summon Mothra,
Yeah.
So you got Scar King, who's basically he's an orangutan, essentially. He carries like this bone, like spine whip. I felt like it was like a missed opportunity to make that like to give like some backstory of that being like a Godzilla type creature.
Oh sure, maybe
that's
was
where
his parents
the spine
or something
came from. Yeah.
Because his parents were killed at the beginning of. Do they show the death of his parents in one of the films? Is it Godzilla versus Kong, or is it Kong Skull? I think it's Godzilla.
I think it's Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then you got he carries one of the Shimo like spikes that's on the tip of it, which is weird because I don't know why that allows him to control Shimo.
Maybe it's like Bluetooth. Like if you have one spike, you control the entire system.
Yeah, maybe. Shimo is an ice dragon, basically like an ancient. They describe Shimo as an ancient titan, which I hope we get more on that. But an ice dragon being manipulated by Scar King, and Shimo is basically the bringer of the first ice age. And then you have Zuko, essentially Diddy Kong, who's like
We'll just call him Diddy Kong.
he just looks like he is obviously a small ape, but he has like red fur because I believe he's like a Scar King type like hybrid.
Well, we talk about that in Fun Facts, Aaron. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Although not mentioned in the film, as we just said, Zuko is the name is never revealed. It's revealed actually in the toys, so it carries a significant meaning. As when written phonetically in Japanese, it can be broken down into two characters that ultimately mean essential child. Interestingly, Zuko is typically a female name in Japanese, and perhaps coincidentally is a Filipino word for surrender. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And again, we don't get the name Zuko. It's just, again, in the toys. So director Adam Wingard elaborated on Scar King. He's sort of an anti-Kong with motivations grounded in human desires for power and control. Despite being non-human, Scar King's actions resonate with human themes of domination and ambition. Explaining the reasons behind this, Wingard said his motivations are very grounded in human motivations like power and control. As he said, he is the type of super dictator living in Hollow Earth, which we see very clearly. He's got folks working hard labor, not getting any rest. He's got his little entourage who are pushing people around, who are essentially, and I found this really interesting in the film, when Kong and Zuko go down to like Scar King's lair, I guess you'll call it, a lot of the apes are essentially the same size as King Kong. I thought it would have been interesting to show like how much bigger King Kong is than everybody. But
He
no.
looked a bit bigger.
I mean, he's like wider,
they-
but they're like the same, like eye level.
yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, and then as you said here, Shimo is the Japanese word for frost or gray hair. It is believed that she is the main cause of King Ghidorah's freezing in Antarctica. I think that's in some of the comics that they talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a like prologue
A
comic,
tie-in.
by the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I've been meaning to read.
Let's talk about some Titans get murked in this film, Aaron, because there are a couple, right? And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this because you are obviously a much bigger kaiju, Toho, Godzilla fan, right? So some of these characters are big characters, and you know, in the mythos of not only the MonsterVerse but just like this universe. So go into that a little bit.
Scylla, basically the big crab
Mm-hmm.
that's attacking. I want to say like Rome.
I always when you do the little things, I always think of Krabby from Pokemon.
Oh yeah. Killed by Godzilla in Rome, just completely just
Decimated Rome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, these Scylla and Tiamat. Tiamat is the one that's living in the Arctic Circle, that's like gathering energy from the magnetic kind of spectrum of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And both, like, to be honest, I don't know a lot about those lore, because those are, I mean, I'm more of like, I like the ones that are in like the movies, like,
Sure.
you know, Ghidorah and some of those like stupider ones, King Ghidorah.
They were both killed relatively easily, right?
Very easily.
Like, especially Tiamat. I thought Tiamat was going to be at least a little bit of a challenge for Godzilla, but then we just see like the head of Tiamat float to the top, right?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Like this laser, and he just comes up like sushi. I thought it was. I mean, okay, so yes, I always wish that there was a little bit more, because if you ever go back and watch the original Godzilla films,
Mm-hmm.
there is always, like, every battle is the focus of the film. Every battle, not just like the main battles. Whereas this one, we all knew that Godzilla was like, get to the fucking point.
There are multiple times in this film where this giant monster is presented in front of Kong or Godzilla, and then it cuts away, and then the next scene is just the head of whatever monster they were fighting flying across the screen, and like they just killed him off screen, which is kind of disappointing, but it makes sense. Like, you got budgets, and you got to save it for that final gravity fight at the end. I get it. I guess.
They're teasing you. They want you to like want these big battles and see, like, they gave us exactly what we wanted. We want to see fights where Godzilla just fucking tears them apart. Like again, like Scylla and Tiamat, but Scylla was one of the best fights, because I'm just watching this fight, and all of a sudden he just like opens his mouth and like holds the chompers and just goes and like just fucking like laser blasts, like
you know I love that, right? Like that's one of my favorite Godzilla things is him just taking someone's dome, opening it up as far as it can
Yes.
go, and just atomic breathing right into it.
And so they knew that they gave us exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Before we get into our fun facts, I want to just kind of talk about the finale. So at the end of the film, we get the final battle. We get the power up from Godzilla with the Tiamat pink energy. You get Godzilla getting his power glove after a fight with Scar King earlier in the film. You get the interaction between those two because Godzilla is like trying to tell him like, bro,
That
I need
scene
help.
was like, stop. It's like come on. No.
it's like Tony in Age of Ultron.
Go to sleep.
Yes. So the only thing that I wanted, there was that where Godzilla's like running. He just runs up to Godzilla. I wanted him to do like a spear kick
Yeah.
and just fucking like right into Godzilla. Into King Kong. Didn't get that, but I want to talk about the relationship between like Trapper and Godzilla and the fact that he is just like this Godzilla fan, and you could tell he's a fan because he creates like this gear for him.
Yeah. You mean for King Kong?
Or is that for King Kong? Sorry, yeah. Like this needs to be a game, and like you need to have Trapper like he is your like armory guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly what he is, and it's so cool. Like I can't wait to see. Like I hope when the next movies come out, Trapper is just like Godzilla armory, and like it's almost like Neon Genesis, where it's just like, okay, hey, we got something new for you. And it's like this fucking spear comes up or something. So excited for that.
They talk about in the film how like the government, they were creating these different pieces of technology to amplify and help the Titans defend the Earth, and it was like defunded by the government, by Monarch. And Trapper's like, but we kept working on it. We kept doing it. Like we're like, we just kept it going. What were your thoughts on? So again, we get that interaction in Cairo. Get the destruction of the pyramids. Mothra comes in with her feminine energy, is like, bro, let's fucking chill out for a moment. Let's band together. That's all she had to say. No notes, Mothra. No notes. You said enough.
Notes.
Yeah. We get that scene from the trailer where you've got Godzilla and Kong running, which, if I can be honest, if I have one true knock, they kind of both come in the finale in the third act. I don't like the way that Godzilla runs in this series. I think he moves too quick. Or she? Is it she in this universe? I think it's a she.
No, it's
is it he? Okay.
King of the Monsters.
I know. I was confused by that, but I thought I remember her. Maybe it's the 98 version is a she.
Yeah, the Matthew Broderick.
Yes, yeah. So Godzilla shouldn't be able to move like that. He's huge. Like I guess so is King Kong, but like Kong is an ape, right? So like I don't know. What are your thoughts? You're more the Godzilla fan, but I find that so jarring when you have Godzilla running at like full speed.
I feel like it's like when necessary. You know,
Okay.
like he has the capability. He doesn't need to because you don't. But he's not. I mean, even in the old school ones, like he still has. It's not like he's just like two small little stumpy legs. He's like,
well, in the Toho, like in Godzilla -1, for instance, he moves extremely slow. Like he's like, boom, boom. Like each foot, no, one foot can move at the same time in that movie, right? But yeah, in this one, it's just full on CGI madness.
He also powered up. I'm just saying, he also changed while he powered up. So you gotta remember that.
Yeah.
His body changed. His bone density went up. They think that some of the graphics said bone density, skin density, all that stuff went up by at least 20%. He was so strong and so powered up. He had so much energy in him that he's literally boiling the fucking ocean, which was so badass. Like the eyes went like smoky. He's got the smoky eye. I'm like, yes,
queen,
yes, queen.
Are we getting? Before I get to my question, I have another one here. Are we getting incredibly high power creep for Godzilla? Like King Kong can obviously be hurt. We see it in the film, but Godzilla is essentially indestructible at this point with the Tiamat energy.
Okay, so one of the coolest things. Well, okay, so we saw in -1 when they blew up the mines in his mouth, we saw his incredible healing factor.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know when he's powered up, obviously his healing factor gets exponentially greater. But the cool thing was, if you watched, Legacy of Monsters, he gets hit front and center with a fucking nuclear bomb, and he's fine.
He eats it.
He just eats it. So we know that he's nigh indestructible, you know?
Sure.
So, I mean, I feel like we're going to see more stuff in the future. However, I will say this, and I don't know if we brought this up anywhere in the notes, but I did read a recent article topic, or I didn't read the actual article, but the topic was that they're hinting at the death of Godzilla.
I mean, I was going to say, so that seems to be the natural progression of this series, because it seems like the last two films, Godzilla versus Kong and New Empire, are both very Kong centric, right? Like Godzilla's kind of almost like an afterthought, or maybe just like a side character in these films. I think we need more Godzilla maybe in the next one, and maybe have like a villain that is up to par with Godzilla, maybe from space, because they've already killed everyone from Earth.
Yes. Natural progression of the series generally is like the next one will be there is some kind of extraterrestrial threat.
Sure.
Now, Ghidorah, which, you know, the three-headed like Hydra-looking creature, lore has it that they said he came from like the moon, but basically he is an extraterrestrial creature, and I think in the old school films, like the aliens actually come back, resurrect Ghidorah to become King Ghidorah. Then you also have a Mecha Ghidorah. So like it just gets nuts.
Yeah.
You know, let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Before we get into our fun facts, I had one more question. What were your thoughts on that final fight? The gravity, the fight in Rio de Janeiro, all of that. Like, was that all cool for you? Or you having a good time?
Yeah, I had a really good time with it. I would say that the aspect of like using the gravity effect against them was really cool. Once they get out of the you know, because I think they did such a good job, even though I'm not a big fan of the Scar King. I'm glad he's dead. Yes, I hope he dies. I hope he burns in hell.
I hope he burns in hell.
I'm glad that they gave him that like moment where he like when he comes out of the portal and he sees like humanity and he sees the surface and he like looks up and he's like blinded by the sun. That was such like a fruitful moment. I'm glad they added it in there because yes, he is a very human Titan. But I also thought it was like the whole fight was pretty cool because it gave you exactly what you wanted. You knew that at some point they were going to get that crystal away from Scar King. You knew at some point it was going to get destroyed. You knew at some point Shimo was going to go after Scar King himself, and it all wrapped up super well, especially with like King Kong almost like treating Shimo like his new pet.
He's like his
takes
doggy.
him back down. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed all of it. I really enjoyed how it kind of all wrapped together.
You're absolutely right. The finale, I think, again, the fight was just pure insanity. I didn't say this earlier, but I saw it at the IMAX downtown at the museum. So it was the biggest screen that I could possibly see it on, and that was very purposeful, of course. But the finale, the battle, it's all just there's no time to breathe. It's just very wall to wall brain candy action the entire time. And then the finale, you've got Godzilla going back into the Coliseum and taking a nap, and you've got King Kong taking over that new realm with both Shimu and Suku, and he's got friends now. That's what he always wanted, right?
He's got family and friends. Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. I love that he gets what he needs.
He got his power glove back. He got his axe back. Like King Kong's living good right now, right? So, and of course, like we don't really care, but the human characters are all good. You've got Gia's like, oh no, Rebecca Hall, I love you, in sign language and all the things, but we don't care about all that because that doesn't matter. They're there just for exposition. So let's get into our fun facts. Aaron, why don't you go ahead and take a couple here?